A very good afternoon to you folks. We are coming to you live from the Singapore Indian Association grounds here for the ICC World T20 Qualifiers Asia Final 2019. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Kash Patel and I'll be your commentator for this game. Singapore playing Malaysia. This is the local derby. I would like to call it the Ashes of Southeast Asia. Singapore, as you can see on the points table, sitting at the top, having won one match and another against Kuwait, which was a washout. As you can see, each team here plays each other once, so Singapore has 2 matches remaining and they can't afford to lose any of their remaining 2 games if they want to qualify. Only one team goes through from Asia to the next stage of the ICC World 20 qualifiers, which happen later this year, to be able to then get the chance to get a spot in the ICC World T20 happening in Australia next year in March. As we can see, the umpires are walking on to the field from the commentary room here, and the action is about to begin in about 4 minutes, exactly at 2 p.m. So stay tuned in, folks, as the Singapore team walks into field. Malaysia will be batting first. You can see the Malaysian team on your screens right at this minute. Malaysian batsman walking onto the field. Singapore team on your screens now. Playing 11, playing 11. First over, Vinoth bowling from the Rangoon Road end of the IA ground. This one stays low, played out to mid-off by Anwar, who gets off the mark with a single. 2 runs off the over so far. I will bring you the Malaysian 11 very shortly, folks. Played down to mid-on by Virendeep for a single. First over gone, Malaysia 3 for no loss. These two teams played the Stan Nagaya Trophy over in 2018, which was a T20 series. 3-match series, and if I recall correctly, that match was a clean sweep won by Singapore. But their matches are always very hotly contested. Off the field, the players know each other very well as well, but when they're on the ground, they don't like to give an inch. It's a fierce rivalry between these two neighbours as Amjad, Singapore captain, runs in. Folks, all of you watching at home, thank you for tuning in. Please do like and share in your news feeds and invite your friends to also come and watch and support your teams out here today in this must-win match. Punched off the back foot by Virendeep, or a dot ball. To a shortish extra cover. This is Amjad's home ground as well. Driven down the ground in this quick single stolen by Virendeep Singh. Takes Malaysia to 4 runs off 1.2 overs. Amjad would be very familiar with the conditions here with the wicket. The Singapore Indian Association have been the local league champions for the last half a dozen years, I believe, and Amjad has played a big part over the years in those victories. Bouncer there, and a wide given. So the Malaysian 11, Ahmad Faiz Mohammed Noor, the captain. Batsman ready, Amjad running in for the third ball. Nicely bowled. There was no room for the batsman to manoeuvre that. Virendeep Singh, who is also the vice captain of the team, Muhammad Anwar Aruddin, who is opening with Virendeep Singh. at skied high. Long on's run around and taken the catch. Malaysia loses their first wicket. As you can see, the replays on your screen here. I think the ball held up off the pitch there, and in the end the batsman didn't get it off the middle of the bat, scooped it up. Long on ran around and took that catch. Singapore is thrilled. Continuing with the Malaysian 11 as the new batsman walks in: Muhammad Sayadat Ramli, Muhammad Anwar, Muhammad Fitri, Muhammad Sham, Saeed Aziz Saeed Mubarak, Shavin Munandi, Aminuddin Ramli, and Neville Christie Leonage. I think the batsman had crossed before the catch was taken. We're in the sim now, facing Amjad. It's played down the ground, dot ball. Amjad ends the over with a dot ball there. 5 for the loss of 1 wicket. Singapore would be quietly confident about playing and winning today, having had a bit of an upper hand in these last few matches they've played against Malaysia. Also having the home ground advantage. As we can see, Timothy being moved to slip. As Vijayakumar is about to start his over. An appeal for a caught behind. They must have heard some noise out there. Let's try to look at the replay. Look close. Definitely look close to me on that replay. Played out towards extra cover there for a dot ball. Oh, what a brilliant catch there. Amazing catch. That was Janak Prakash, young Janak Prakash, always in the mix, always making himself count as Malaysia lose their second wicket. .3 bowled and 5 runs for the loss of 2 wickets. It's a hot day out here today, folks, and the outfield is quite dry and quick. As the new batsman walks in, I would love to see the replay of that catch again, as the batsman takes guard. There you go, folks. It looked like he'd hit it quite hard, but the ball was dipping and Janak dived forward. Full marks to Janak. Tried to just guide it down past the keeper. At this stage of the match, at 5 for 2, a bit of a risky shot if you ask me. Just tried to nudge that ball around square. Kumar coming in to bowl the last ball. Dot ball. And a wicket maiden. Great start by Selladore Vijayakumar. 3 overs gone. Malaysia 5 for 2. The first 6 overs, as you know, folks, are power play overs. Only 2 fielders are allowed outside the 30-yard circle. The idea being to maximize scoring opportunities. But Singapore has done good work so far, restricting Malaysia. As you can see, the spectators in our pavilion there. Single taken through extra cover by Virendeep Singh brings Mohammad Shafiq on strike, wearing the number 10 jersey. See if he bats like the famous number 10, the famous SRT. We'll find out soon enough. Try to just drop that ball to look for that single, but the Singapore players, buoyed by those 2 quick wickets as well, are quick on their feet. The keeper and Point running in quickly to stop that attempt to have a single. Guided down for a single. Singapore won't mind this, folks. In the power play, 1 or 2 singles being stolen. Amjad running in for his 4th ball. Pulled away. Out to deep square leg. Kept down to a single again. 2 runs of this over so far. That shot was on. It just seems like the ball's holding off the pitch just a tad bit, which results in the batsman not getting their timing right. Driven through extra cover for 4 runs by Virendeep Singh. First boundary for Malaysia. Just stood there in his crease and punched it nicely for that boundary. Virendeep Singh, his score is 8 of 8. 6 runs off the over so far with 1 ball to go. Single taken, played behind square. 7 runs off this over, 12 for 2. Malaysia. Malaysia would be happy Virendeep Singh still at the crease. I don't think they would be too bothered about losing those 2 quick wickets. I tell you, if Virendeep Singh gets going and a couple of the other players play around him, if he is here till the 20th over, Malaysia still has a chance to put up a really good total. So folks, stay tuned in for the entire match. Only 4 overs in. Plenty of action to come. Played down the ground to mid-on for a single by Virendeep Singh. Vinoth in for his 2nd over. And that's 4 runs. As I welcome my fellow commentator, Sharad Swaminathan. Welcome, Sharad.
Thanks, Cash. Good to be here. Good day for cricket.
Yes, it seems like you brought a bit of a relief for the players, my friend. A big appeal as Shafiq tried to sweep that ball. You have brought a bit of respite here because I can't see the sun. It was quite hot when the match started.
Well, that's what Singapore does to you. A wild hoik there by Mohammad Shafiq. Singapore off to a really good start, 4.3, 17 for 2. If I was the coach for Singapore, I wouldn't be complaining at this point.
Yes, I totally agree, Sharad. Definitely a good start, but as I was mentioning just before you came in, it's still early days. As Vinoth runs in. Played behind square, fine leg, sort of runs around for that single. If Virendeep Singh stays to the end, I'm not sure if you've seen him play before here locally in Singapore, he can launch them. He's a good bat.
That's a fantastic shot by Mohammad Shafiq. Took the risk. Something had to be done, and very brave to get a reverse sweep going. And he's got 4 runs for that.
Very well played indeed.
Coming back to your point, Cash, yes, no, I have seen Virendeep Singh. Absolutely, he's probably the 2 batsmen at the crease at the moment is probably their most dependable pair, going by history as well. So if Singapore can get some inroads with these 2 batsmen, Malaysia is certainly going to be in trouble.
Yes. For the sake of our viewers out there, I certainly hope this ends up being a good contest. As much as I'd like Singapore to make another breakthrough right now, I'd also love to see a good contest and a good fight, which usually always happens between these 2 teams, as we have a change of bowler.
Yep, young Janak Prakash back into the. He's bowling his first over for the game, and yeah. He's an exciting prospect for Singapore as he steams in. Starts off with a wide down the leg side. Janak, a very talented fast bowler, came up through the ranks of the under-19 levels, but certainly usually when he starts off his spell, has the issue of his wrist falling over and ball usually tending to go down the leg side, which he has struggled with in the recent past, but I'm sure a quality bowler like him will fix that.
Yes, but a very hard-working young man.
Cramped him for space there. Managed to sneak in 1, Shafiq.
Yes, I was mentioning earlier, to me it also seems that the ball's holding off the wicket a bit, which is what's also resulting in those in them not getting the timing right.
Yeah, the Indian Association pitch at times can come off to be a bit of a 2-paced wicket, and with T20 cricket you have bowlers bowling their change up. Well fielded of his own bowling. Yeah, because of the 2-pace wicket, and considering it's hot and it's quite dry, the pitch tends to crack and open up just a tidy bit, which makes it a little bit difficult for batsmen. So it's really important that these 2 batsmen, Shafiq and Virendeep, once they've settled in, and in T20 you don't have that much time, but now that they've spent 21 balls altogether, it's critical for them to get Malaysia going to set up a good total.
Played down to mid-on for a dot ball. Yes, you're right. They're starting to build a bit of a partnership here. If these 2 can hang around for the best part of the rest of the innings, there will definitely be a competitive total. And I'm not personally very familiar with a lot of the Malaysian players, although I did commentate in the Stan Negara Trophy last year. Well fielded there at covers.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a seesaw journey between Singapore and Malaysia. Singapore beat Malaysia during the SEA Games, during the round robin stage when Malaysia got the better of them during the finals, but at the same time during the Asia Cup qualifiers, Singapore got the better of Malaysia. So it looks like they're very evenly balanced, and it just depends on how each team performs on a particular day.
Just ran that down towards third man. Virendeep for another single. 1 ball to come in Janak's over. He's recovered well after that wide on the first ball.
Yeah, I'm sure he's pumped. He took the first 2 catches as well, so, and both of them are quality catches, so pretty sure he'd be wanting to really contribute with the ball as well. Bit of confusion there between the two batsmen, but all's well that ends well with Malaysia. Good pressure by the Singaporean fielders.
Indeed, that definitely ended up being a risky single because of that confusion. I think Shafiq did the right thing. I mean, he played and he ran and he called immediately. Virendeep Singh should have just listened to his partner's call. I mean, that's something that at this level one would expect that to consistently happen.
Absolutely. So Cash, what would you do if you were in the Malaysian dugout at this point? 6 overs gone, a precarious 28 for 2. What would you be telling your players at this point?
Look, at this stage, now that the power play is also done, I would definitely want them to continue to keep rotating strike, and then just look to put away the loose ones. I mean, really just follow basics. Still 14 overs to come, and even at a 120 plus, if you can get there.
Yeah, I think Malaysia will do really well to get to a score of between 120 to 140. One thing that Singapore bowlers have really improved on is their consistency. They keep hitting the right length. They don't try too much, and they just try keeping it very consistent and help making the batsman make the mistake.
As Shafiq
goes for a big hoik, and he's caught at long on. And this is what I keep saying, where Singapore has really improved is they've started to become very consistent with their bowling. They keep it there and thereabouts, and they make the batsmen go for the big shots, just like what Shafiq did right now, and they get the wickets that way.
Was that Janak again? Was that catch taken by Janak again? Here we see the replay. That catch was taken by Surendran, the dashing hard hitter for Singapore. His home ground as well, Singapore Indian Association. I've seen him launch many a sixes just hanging in his crease. It's a treat to watch when he gets going.
So you've had one stalwart in Shafiq go, and you've got Faiz come in now, who's also another senior member as part of this Malaysian setup. 28 for 3 after 6.2 overs. Selladore, 2 for none.
Doing well.
He's probably bowled every single ball in the same spot.
Yes, we're about to find out.
That's the first run of Selladore's bowling. He's certainly been someone who's kept things tight for Singapore and throughout their T20 journey, and the Singapore team really looks up to him to contain the batsman whenever he comes into bowl.
Yes, and if I'm not wrong, he recently took a 9-4. Was that him? Okay, I've just been informed by our one of our local umpires here, well-known umpires here, Richie Abraham, that wasn't him.
So Malaysia in a bit of a sticky situation here. Singapore's got, if you think about the Singapore setup at this point, they're extremely batting heavy, and they've got really strong depth in their batting. It's really key for Malaysia to put up a good total on the board.
Yes, Sharad, I'd have to agree with you 100% on that one. My apologies, it's Sharon, folks. I've kept calling my friend here Sharad. It is the first time that we have met, so I'm sure he will forgive me.
Oh, absolutely. Come on. Intentions are always clean.
Indeed. As we see the supporters out there in the pavilion, I can see Chetan Suryawanshi's dad, Rohan Rangarajan's dad, and I think it must be Timothy's family over there watching as well. Singapore women's team captain is also watching there.
Really good setup here at the IA. So if you're close by, do come along. Good encounter going on between Singapore and Malaysia. Looking at the bowling chain, so we've got a bowling chain. Anantha Krishna is coming to the attack. Singapore truly going in here for the kill. They've brought in their ace leg spinner to come in and create a bit more havoc into the Malaysian batting lineup. Having a wrist spinner in the squad is always very handy, Cash.
Yes. And another player, Anantha, knows this ground very well. It is his home ground as well.
Good start by Anantha. Gets it up there. Certainly every time you start bowling leg spin, you have a little bit of nerves going in, but good start. Got it up there. Got the batsman driving.
That's what you want. Faye's trying to come down the ground there, down the wicket, I mean.
So Malaysia would have come into their batting thinking there are a couple of bowlers they would want to target from Singapore in order to get the momentum going. So you can already see that they have a bit of a positive intent when they see a leg spinner, but that's where there's an opportunity for Singapore to capitalize as well.
As Virendeep takes another single, hitting down too long on where Surendran fires a throw back in.
Short ball from Anantha, but hit straight to square leg. Started off really well. First two balls up there. Probably wanted to contain the batsman and pulled his length a bit shorter. Key ball here for Anantha.
Much better ball.
Great fielding by Rohan. He really elevates Singapore's fielding with his fielding at point. He brings a lot of coverage on the field. Rohan Rangarajan.
Oh yes, very fit young fella. Another cricketer to come through the local ranks. I believe he was 15 or 14 even when he played his first game for Singapore, or 15 was he? We just we're having a bit of a laugh here in the commentary room. Someone just told me 10. Rohan Rangarajan.
Good shot by Faze. Rocked back onto the back foot and cut it square to the sweeper for one. Yeah, Virendeep back on strike. Faze and Virendeep are not new to Singapore conditions. In fact, they play Premier Division as part of the SCA League here in Singapore as well. So they would know these grounds extremely well.
Yes, and Malaysia needs them to come to the party in this innings. And back to Rohan Rangarajan, folks. Yes, he was 15 when he first played for Singapore. Still only 19 or 20, I believe. His best years are ahead of him as dot balls played out.
Yeah, certainly exciting talent. In fact, during the recently concluded Emerging Player Series in Singapore, he scored a 143 in the finals. which brought him a lot of recognition. Great fielding by Tim in point, cutting that down from a possibly 3 runs to 1. So Singapore's fielding and bowling have certainly held them in good stead in the recent past. Great efforts by the coach, the coaching setup. Not only have they had a head coach in Bilal Asad, but they've also had a bowling coach in the form of Fahad Masood working on their fitness.
And boy, does he work them hard on their fitness. Fahad Masood, former first-class fast bowler from Pakistan, their bowling and fitness coach.
Absolutely, and I've just been told they've also had Mr. Rohan, who's been helping them with their fielding as well. So, and you can certainly see the results in the way the team's been progressing. Great shot by Viren. One thing about Virendeep, he's got that lazy lankiness sort of to his batting, but he's extremely effective and he plays spinners with ease.
Yes, he does have a lot of time on his hands. Watches the ball very early. A hallmark of all great players who score big out there.
Talking about score big, Virendeep's partner Emmett Faiz is on the is at the crease at the moment. Also scored a century in the SEA Games, which was the 50-over event, and which won Malaysia the gold medal during that event. So an extremely important pair batting at this point. That's it, up in the air. Janak's come underneath and he's taken a fantastic catch again.
Long off. Just what Malaysia didn't need.
We were just talking about the composure of Virendeep, Cash.
Yes. I mean, he settled in nicely at this stage in the 10th over.
The pressure was certainly getting to him. He's faced 23 balls, scored 17. You're into your 9th over. Malaysia with 38 runs on the board. The writing was on the cards.
Yes. It is a game of the mind at this level. He knew it straight away. He hadn't got under it as he hit it. You could tell he had already started to walk, knowing that the ball's going to be caught.
It's a difficult situation that Malaysia are in right now. You face 9 overs. You want to get the momentum going towards your end, but with 4 wickets down, getting into the middle order, certainly going to be an uphill task here. But it's really important that calculated risks are taken at the right time.
Tried to cut there, but there was no room for him.
That's a short ball by Anantha, but whacked straight to square leg. The new batsman come in is Mohammad Siadat Ramli, another experienced campaigner with the Malaysian squad.
They're definitely going to need him to draw on all that experience to be able to give them a chance to put up a decent score from here. They would need to add at least another 60 in the last 10.
That's a shot down the ground and it's gone all the way. Extremely brave batting by Mohammad Siadat, just coming into the crease. Second ball down the track, straight over the bowler's head. That's the confidence that Malaysia needs at this point. They have to take the calculated risks, and that in that ball it actually paid off. Great batting, just nudged it onto the leg side for 1 run. it's important that Malaysia has someone who comes in and just gets assertive and drags the Malaysian team towards a good total.
Indeed. You want that positive intent.
That's the word I was looking for.
In the end, fortune favors the brave.
Singapore have decided that spin's the way forward, and Vinod Baskaran's come in. He's done really well to open up the bowling for Singapore in the games preceding these ones. He's kept things really tight, always targeted the batsman's pads, and it's not gone for too many runs in his short career with Singapore so far.
Yeah, smart cricketer he is. Thinker.
Very traditional left arm, orthodox action, just walking straight through into the crease, nice high arm release, and going through the ball. Nothing uncomplicated about it.
It was a bit of a nothing shot really, as you saw there, Timothy on the crease, in the field.
Tucked away by Faiz for a single. Faiz, who scored that century during the SEA Games, is also now a program coordinator for the Bukit Jalil Sports School cricket program. So was Shafiq Sharif, as part of the Malaysian squad, which is an education scholarship for cricketers around the country, which is a fantastic initiative.
I would have to agree with that, Sharon.
I was watching the interview the other day as well, and the president was saying that most of them are contracted players, and the fact that they're giving back to the system in the form of education and cricket, it's just really good to see.
Definitely. Nice bit of keeping there by young Manpreet Singh. Single to end the over. 49. Oh, 50. 50 up for Malaysia in the 11th over. What's the bare minimum, Sharon, can you get away with on this ground if you were to defend? What would you want to have at least on the board? What number?
If you're looking at the current Singapore batting setup, you need to get somewhere in the likes of 140, 150 for sure. They're playing at home, they're playing on their home ground, a lot of depth in the batting, and a lot of brave cricketers as well. So certainly 150 would be idealistic, but if you look at 50 for 4, Malaysia would do really well to get in the 120, 125 space.
Looking more and more unlikely, although if you're a Malaysian cricket fan, you would, I'm sure, not agree with me. That, like you pointed out earlier, Singapore bowlers...
he's come down the track again, and he's hoiked it over long on. Fantastic shot by Mohammad Siadat. He's come in with a lot of intent. He's come in, and in his first 7 balls, he's hit 2 sixes. That is great intent, good batting. This is what the crowds come to watch. This is what makes cricket exciting. This is what T20 is all about.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Sharon. As the umpires thought that they had lost the ball, they're trying to recover. It's gone behind the commentary box here, almost to Balestier Road, just past the ground.
I'm really enjoying the way Siada's come in and approached his innings. He's come in with no fear, and he's basically said this one way or the highway.
Yes, well, you do need someone to grab the bull by the horns, as they say, if Malaysia is to have a fighting chance of putting up a good total. I would say bring on some more sixes, Singapore fans. That will only make the game more competitive.
The players taking a bit of a break while the umpires replace the ball. The entire bowling unit surrounding the umpires, trying to gauge what's the best ball for this particular situation. Looks like they've come to a conclusion.
Yes, I mean, you would want to keep the momentum going. I mean, you wouldn't want to waste too much time. And they're ready. Anantha is ready to fire it in again. Third ball of the over coming up.
Great fielding by Rohan. Again, that's another example of how he saves runs in the field. Really good fielder, very energetic.
Yes, I would have to say at least a half a dozen saved so far. Another dot ball by Anantha.
Great shot, rock back onto the back foot, pushed it away to a long on for a single.
Yeah, Singapore won't mind these singles.
And he's got him.
Smart stumping there.
And he's got him. Wild hoik by Ahmed Faiz. A lot of these experienced Malaysian cricketers, in order to create something, losing their shape and not hitting the ball cleanly. And that's just another example.
Yes, I would have to agree. And weren't you mentioning that Faiz also plays in the local league here?
Absolutely, he does, yes.
So he would also be familiar with the IA pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is what pressure does to you, and this is what expectations of getting a good score as well does. So, again, if you look at it, 12 over was 57 for 5. Yeah, it's very important that someone can come in and with a steady head, but at the same time are able to take that calculated risk. What Siada just has been doing since he's come in.
Yes, but from the batting side of it, with 5 wickets down and now getting into the lower middle order, how familiar are you with the rest of the lineup? Do they have any more good batters left?
Generally, at this level, you will have capable batsmen. And considering they've played a lot of Singapore and they know the different players, but you'd need someone to really stick their hand out. So, Aminuddin Ramli's also been part of the setup, and Siada up probably their last hope.
Yeah, well, someone will need to stick around with him to allow him to do the job. Rotate strike.
Saeed Aziz, who got out trying to hit Vijayakumar Selladore over long on, was a massive scalp for Singapore. In fact, the last season just gone by, he's got a double century in the Premier League for CSC.
Wow.
So I'm sure he would have been coming into this tournament with a bit of confidence, a bit of runs in his belt. So that was a massive scalp for Singapore.
Good job by Singapore so far, as Vijay comes to bowl his last over. As you can see, the scoreboard on the screen now stands corrected, 3.1 overs. Single off that first ball, Ramli on strike, facing his first ball.
Well played. Straight through to covers for 1 run. Kash, you were mentioning Singapore and Malaysia playing a lot of cricket against each other. So just for the public domain, or just for public knowledge, a couple of tournaments that they play against each other is the Saudara Cup that they've been playing since 1970s, and the Stan Nagaya since 1994. How much of exposure have you had to these tournaments?
I have watched some of the matches. I covered the Stan Nagaya trophy last year, which Singapore won with a clean sweep, if I recall correctly, as this one has been hoiked out towards cow corner, cut off nicely by the fielder there for a couple.
Good intent there again by Siadat. He's certainly batting on another surface at this point.
Yes, and so Stan Nagaya trophy is named after Stanley Nagaya, who played for both the old Malaya, when Singapore used to be part of Malaysia, as well as for Singapore. Hence the Stan Nagaya trophy. And as I was saying to the audience earlier, a battle between these two teams, as the batsman hit out towards covers, cut off by the sweeper there for another single. Selladore ending the 4 overs and 2 for 11. Brilliant effort there by Selladore as usual. So I was referring to the series or matches between these two teams as the Ashes of Southeast Asia, and I wouldn't be too far off it, as we will also see from the following of this particular match as well. I'm just going to try and get a look at the numbers.
Just on that point, I've got a really interesting stat here. The Saudara Cup has been played since the 1970s, and Malaysia lead Singapore 13-9.
Yes, I was looking that up earlier today as well. They do, but Singapore has definitely caught up. It used to be 13-6 to Malaysia.
Janak Prakash back into the attack, hit down the ground by Siadat for a single. And what's really interesting is Saudara in Malay means kinship. And the fact that they have a Saudari Cup as well for the women's team just goes to show that as much as there's competitive cricket, there's actually good relationships between the two nations.
Oh yes, I was saying that earlier off the field. There's great camaraderie. As Ramli tries to charge at young Janak Prakash, resulting in nothing. So I was also looking up the history of cricket in Singapore and Malaysia, and The first recorded mention of cricket in Singapore was in 1837, my apologies.
It's a short ball and he's gotten away with it. And
It's
just
a
that's
slower
the first
bouncer.
Yeah, one for the over.
It's a slower bouncer too. Nicely bowled there by Janak. So the first recorded mention of cricket in Singapore was in 1837 when a Mr. Z or Mr. Z complained in a letter to the Singapore Free Press of cricket being played near a church on a Sunday in violation of the Christian Sabbath.
He's absolutely creamed that ball to sweeper. Sweeper cover for one. Malaysia 64 for 5 after 13.4 overs. Mohammad Siadat looking really good, and to Malaysia's need and benefit, it's really important that he stays to the very end. From a points table perspective, folks, Singapore standing at the top with 3 points after 2 games. It's the third game being played.
Yes, and as you can see on the points table, or as you saw on the points table, it is essentially a must-win for all the teams to give themselves a chance.
The loss that Nepal had to Qatar right at the start of the tournament really was a major setback for them.
Yes, and that's what has thrown the table open as well. Nepal supposed to be the strongest team out of the 5 based on ICC rankings. Tried to hit that straight down the ground over the bowler's head. I think Janak Prakash managed to get a little bit of a tip on it to slow the ball down. Another single. Good over completed by Janak, only 4 runs off it. Bringing back that history of cricket in Singapore bit I was reading you guys. So essentially, with that complaint in 1837 by Mr. Z, this resulted in cricket being banned on Sundays, a prohibition that remained in place until the 1930s. Would you believe it? They were not allowed to play cricket in Singapore on Sundays for that many years.
I won't complain with that, Cash.
Okay, all you young cricketers out there watching, ignore that comment from Sharon. If you love your cricket, you want to go out there and play it as much as you can.
Absolutely, Cash. I wasn't. I was catering to the target audience over the age of 35 years. So
yes, with the wives on your back, that one I would have to give it to you.
Appeal by Vinoth, but looks like the ball was sliding down leg. Aminuddin Ramli can certainly benefit from watching Siadat's batting at this point and trying to gain the same momentum that his partner's been going through. Sweep shot for 1. Singapore have really benefited by placing the right fielders as well. There's a number of times you've had big shots go straight to the fielder for 1, so which goes to show the bowlers have been bowling to their field and being very disciplined with their approach.
They have indeed, and they've been rewarded well for it too. And a great
That is a
catch,
fantastic
pulled
catch by
Tim. Brilliant catch. Timothy David, a new addition to the Singapore team, as the batsman tried to reverse hoik that over Tim's head. Tall lad Tim took a great one-handed catch, as you can see on the replay.
And this is a massive wicket. Siadat was looking in absolutely great touch. He's absolutely creamed that ball to backward point. That had to stick.
And what a catch. So Tim, for those of who you might not know, Tim is a new addition to the Singapore team. He plays first-class cricket for Western Australia over in Perth, as well as played the BBL last season for the Perth Scorchers. He's of Australian origin and was born in Singapore, which makes him eligible to play for Singapore. A good addition to the Singapore side.
Absolutely, he brings in that, as much as we say, the all-rounder component to the team. Unfortunately, because of an injury, he's not been bowling, but good addition to the bat, comes one down, really solid batsman. You have to be when you play first-class cricket, Cash.
Yes.
Talking about first-class cricketers, Singapore's also got a few that have sort of represented for a lot of first-class cricket in India, the likes of Manpreet and Chetan.
Yes. And folks, on the scorecard there is a slight correction I would have to highlight. The keeper is being named as David. However, the keeper is actually Manpreet Singh. I'm sure we will have that corrected shortly on the scorecard on your screens. Again, swept out to deep square leg. Well run couple, as the fielder had to dive there, which allowed the batsman extra time.
During a hot day at the Indian Association, the outfield's absolutely rapid, and you really need to get a lot of body behind the ball, especially when you're fielding in the boundaries. Gyanendra Malla just absolutely wanted to throw the kitchen sink at that one. Missed it by a mile, but I like the intent.
Oh well, 5 overs to go. 4 wickets in hand. They want to try and maximize every ball from here on.
With 5 overs to go, we've got the skipper of Singapore coming into the attack. He's going to be extremely dangerous at this point because he's not only someone who can hit the block hole with his yorkers, but he's also got the back of the hand slower ball, which is extremely effective, and considering the pitch is holding up just a tad bit, it's going to be extremely dangerous for the Malaysian batsman.
Agree, Sharon, and I'm sure he will also be keen, Amjad, the Singapore captain, to come good today. He didn't have a very good outing on the first game by his standards with the ball.
Certainly someone who's battled a few injuries along the way, and it's good to see him back on the field.
Oh yes, he has served Singapore cricket well for many years. Talking about serving Singapore cricket, another great bowler for Singapore, Shoaib Razak. Would also like to highlight his efforts and service to Singapore cricket over the years. He is on the way to recovery from an illness at the moment, and we wish him, as the batsman steal a single. They tried to look for an overthrow, but it was well covered by the Singapore fielder. Yeah, I would like to wish Shoaib Razak, Singapore fast bowler, former Singapore fast bowler, all the very best and a speedy recovery from all of us here.
Gyanendra Malla absolutely creamed that ball over square leg for 6. He waited for that slow delivery by Amjad Mahboob, and he's waited on that and hoiked it over square leg. Great shot. That's probably the momentum that Malaysia were looking for.
Yes, they need to build it up from here. As we know, anything can happen in cricket. Another 50 odd from them would be nice.
He's gone for another shot, and Tim David's not going to miss that, and he's caught it.
Taken it nicely. Another catch by Timothy.
Just got the knack towards the end to actually pick up wickets. Everybody, all teams generally target him as well towards the latter parts of the overs, but there's something about his bowling that makes it difficult to hit. He keeps it simple, but it's tough to, as a batsman, to execute your shot against a bowler like him.
Oh yes, especially when he is very good at holding back the pace as well on the ball, which you just saw as well. Didn't allow the batsman to get fully under that ball. That's also got to be the longest side of the ground around the cow corner.
Yeah, both cow corners are probably the longest side of the Indian Association ground on both ends.
Yeah, not a very big ground overall, but yes, these two areas is where you need that bit of extra power in your shots if you were to really clear the cow corners. 77 for 7. And that's a single stolen between point and cover. Singles are not going to do it.
Mohammad Fitri, the new batsman for Malaysia, left-hander.
That's the Malaysian team on your screens. One ball to go for Amjad.
The sun's back out again, Cash.
Yes, and I'm so glad we're sitting here in the air conditioning in the commentary box. It's quite an interesting run in for Amjad as he approaches the crease.
Yeah, he does a lot that goes against what a typical fast bowling action would be.
Yes.
You run in one rhythm, you take your big stride and you drive through the crease. He has more of a run in right up to the very end and jump in where all the momentum sort of lost, but that's when it goes to show he uses a lot of shoulder and he has really good wrists to bowl that slower ball. So, for kids out there, probably not the ideal action, but at the same time really effective though.
Yes, indeed. I mean, it almost looks like he's about to, as he approaches the stumps, he decides not to want to bowl and go for a walk, and back he zooms in again.
Well, if you ask him at this point in this heat, he'll probably want to do that.
Right about that, Sharon. As Anantha comes in for his third over.
This is going to be interesting. Malaysia wanting to up the ante towards the last 4 overs. You've got a wrist spinner coming in. At this situation, it's highly unlikely that Malaysia will stay quiet. Opportunity for both teams to...
Yeah, well, I am just wondering now with the lower order and catch
and hit straight to covers, and he's got him
straight out to extra cover. Amjad kind of leaped in the air. I mean, he's got a heavy frame, almost would have caused a mini earthquake in that part of the ground. But good catch in the end.
Like I said, Cash, this is the moment where they wanted to capitalize, and it worked against them. But at the same time, good call by Amjad to bring in Anantha, and he's picked up his 3rd wicket.
Brilliant effort there. All Singapore bowlers today. Anantha, number 1 on his jersey, definitely delivering like the number 1 bowler at the moment. 3 wickets in his pocket. Quite a lively character, young Anantha.
That's well bowled again. Bit of pressure on from the fielder. 1 run scored. Malaysia do really well to get to 110, 115 at this point.
Yes, it definitely would still be a below par score. It would take a special effort to win from that. There was another interesting fact that I picked up when we were talking about the history side of it, not so much between these two countries, but Singapore actually played a visiting Indian team here in 1978, and it was a draw. I was actually trying to see if there was a way for me to find the scorecard online. I would have loved to have seen who was playing then.
That's it up in the air. Hit. Chance for Tim, and he's dropped it. Oh, if you asked him, that was probably an easy catch by his standards, but certainly a difficult chance overall. Ball trickled away for 4 runs. Neville Christie going inside out. Tough shot to execute, but he hit it well.
Yes, a welcome boundary for Malaysia. Anantha's over has 2 balls left in it.
This is what you'll get with a wrist spinner, Cash. 4 overs, ideally finishing up with figures.
Cut off by deep square leg there, just a single. Yes, you're right. I mean, it is good figures for Anantha today. I mean, if you can keep your runs down to below 30
as a wrist
spinner, it's definitely a good effort.
So Cash, you were asking what does the batting look like for Malaysia. That's just an example there. These teams have played with each other so much that even a batsman coming in towards the end can come down the track to a wrist spinner like Anantha and milk him through long off, long on. So shows that they know each other really well, and even the batting order right at the bottom can play with that confidence. It's just about who sticks up on that particular day.
Oh yes, but of course your risk amplifies when you're 8 wickets down. You can see a lot of young cricketers, young upcoming cricketers for Singapore. Young Rahul Gune there, the shorter kid in the yellow t-shirt. He scored a century in the ACC Under-16 tournament held in Thailand recently. I can also see young Ishan Govil right behind him. He was also part of that ACC Under-16 Singapore national team. Some talented young cricketers up there. The future of Singapore cricket, Ranveer Mungla, is there as well as Janak. Bowls the first ball, single.
Coming back to the under-level cricket, such an exciting time for any nation, you know, that's up and coming to play your under-15s, under-17s, under-19, be it the ACC or the ICC tournaments globally. Such a fascinating experience, and it's something that makes not only develops the kids from an individual standpoint, but also for their parents who've sort of invested so much into them. It's a great way for the kids to even just give back to their parents for their upbringing.
Oh yes, and with the T20 focus that ICC has, for the associates, did that brush the batsman as on the way down the leg? Because leg side. Didn't see a wide being called there.
It went through the batsman just over the stump. A slower ball by Janak, Prakash, and attempted pull shot.
So yeah, with the ICC having that focus on T20 for the associate nations, with 16 teams playing in the T20 World Cup, which is what is waiting for Janak to bowl that ball. Tried to pull that away. Only a single. Cut off by deep square leg. It's a very good opportunity for youngsters. In fact, with all the burgeoning T20 leagues all around the world, so even young cricketers from associate nations, you know of the young Nepal spinner, is it Lamichhane?
Sandeep Lamichhane.
Yeah, Sandeep Lamichhane played in the BBL.
There's a lot of history to that, Kash. I'll just take you through that in a second, and probably just for the audience benefit as well. So he played the under-19 World Cups, and he was recognized by Michael Clarke for his leg-spinning talent. And Michael Clarke took him to his club in Sydney, where he got a lot of exposure. And through that process, he was identified as being the next big thing. And from there on, he got the opportunity to play the IPL and the Caribbean Premier League, and it's fascinating just to see him in this tournament as well. So that's
got through the gates.
Great ball by Janak.
You miss, I hit.
Bowled a couple of slow deliveries, and they cranked it up, and like you said, straight into the batsman, and it's tough for a batsman down the order to actually execute a shot on that. So.
Oh yes, but you can't fault young Fitri for attempting that shot. 2 more overs to go. Malaysia at 88 for 9. Not a good story for Malaysian fans. However, folks, watching out from Malaysia and everywhere else as well, it ain't over till the last ball is bowled, till that last run is made. So you never know what's coming up next, although the Singaporean fans would like to believe that this should be an easy assignment for them coming in to chase this kind of score.
We already talk about how deep the Singapore batting lineup is, and they're still missing a key player in Arjun Mutreja, who cannot be part of this tournament, but with a consistent run score in the last year or so with Singapore. So it just goes to show the amount of talent that's here within Singapore. Great shot by Anwar through the offside for 1, as Anish does the fielding.
Another exciting talent for Singapore cricket, Anish Param. Although, and forgive me if I get it wrong, I have been travelling a fair bit lately, and I haven't kept an eye out on the local matches. Lately, Anish hasn't been in overall great form as he's the standards that he's used to or accustomed to. Would that be right?
That would be right, Kash. But he's a quality player. He's rescued Singapore on a lot of occasions. He plays for the Singapore Cricket Club here in Singapore, and is one of their key batsmen. About 8 months ago, he was the person that scored a century against Oman in the Asia Cup qualifiers. He was the top run getter in the Asia Cup qualifiers, and that was a tournament with the likes of UAE, Hong Kong, Nepal. So Yeah, he's been struggling there, but that happens with all quality batsmen, and you just need that one good innings. And as they say, a good batsman will always come good when the time counts, and don't think that's too far off for him.
Oh yes, as they say, form is temporary, class is permanent, and he is indeed a class batsman. Played in different parts of the world too, as I was saying earlier. He's played over in Tasmania, he's played over in England, club cricket. Very experienced. Smartly played
by
out
Neville. Yep.
to the covers there. Malaysia.
Neville's only played 6 balls, but he's looked really good. He's had good positive intent. His feet's moved really well. He's had good technique with his batting. Certainly does not look like a lower order batsman.
Yes, and then bringing it back into all the young kids watching out there, that intent bit is just so important. You look at him, he's batting at number 10. Doesn't matter, he's looking to hit every ball. That's what you want, and Anwar steals another single.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Cash. It's only tape for yesterday. I was watching a documentary on Alistair Cook, and he mentions it himself. He's not the most gifted batsman going around, but what he said was he was someone who always made sure that he approached his innings with the right intent to show the opposition that he meant business on that particular day, and he stuck to what his strengths are. And that is extremely important, and it's such a great message. He set it up.
That should be taken as the fielder runs in from long off.
And he's got him.
Takes it. Chetan Suryawanshi, the stalwart of Singapore cricket, former captain until very recently, runs all the way out from long off to take a nice catch.
Malaysia all out for 92, and they will certainly be disappointed with your efforts with the bat. Certainly this wasn't a 92 sort of wicket. They just did not execute the right shots at the right time, and probably lacked intent, the word that we've been talking about.
Yes, certainly was the case. I felt when they lost those first couple of wickets quickly, in trying to conserve wickets, they played out too many dot balls. And whether it's ODI cricket or whether it's T20 cricket, when you bring it back to the basics, you must look to run hard. And I felt that they definitely lacked that today. It would be interesting to see if we can get some stats on it, on how many dot balls were actually played out by Malaysia. So folks, the Malaysian innings has ended. Umpires walking off the field and the ground staff tending to the wicket. We will be back with the chase shortly. Don't go away. Stay right in. We might also look to play